Shalom, friends. In this series of mini shiurim, we'll be discussing some topics which can have a great impact on our success as Ovdei Hashem. The ideas we will attempt to articulate really lie at the foundation of our yeshiva's approach to chinuch over the years. Yet, as we continue to try to grow in our avodas Hashem, we may still be bedeviled by some fundamental questions that can get in the way of our moving forward. We will be speaking primarily about how to relate to and be mechanech ourselves. But keep in mind that most of what we say will be applicable to the issues of chinuch habonim as well. I'll start with some explanation of our title. Life is with yourself. What does that mean? What's the default that we're coming to negate? The first emphasis is yourself. Knowing who we are, what are the working parts of that thing we call ourself, can be very important to our development. Yourself and no one else's. For our purposes, everyone else's self is pretty much irrelevant. The word life, Hashem tells us to choose life. Unfortunately, even when we try to choose life, a lack of understanding can easily throw us off track. Knowing about ourselves can go a long way in helping us choose wisely and choose life. Let's get down to tachlis. Our first question: how do we deal with what appears to be a fundamental dilemma? On the one hand, we are taught that the essence of our lives is to grow. We admire people whom we call growth-oriented. In order to do this, however, we have to be tuned into and dissatisfied with our deficiencies. But isn't that a stira to avodas Hashem b'simcha, serving Hashem with joy? If we are happy with ourselves and with who we are, aren't we betraying our life's mission to grow? One of the most vexing problems we face as we try to work on our avodas Hashem is the problem of comparisons. When we think of our accomplishments, where we have gotten to in life, and compare them to some ideal we have, whether it's based on a biography we've read, or our next door neighbor who happens to be a supermom, or a successful all-around guy with a great job and great kids, and we compare ourselves to them, sometimes we come up short. This can send us into a tailspin of a loss of self-esteem and a kind of yush. Yes, we've been told over and over again that comparisons are harmful, etc. But exactly why is this so? What's so illogical about my seeing my reality as it is, as I try to see who I really am and what I have accomplished? Let's start with some basics. Man has two parts. On the one hand, he's a chelek elokami mal, a being imbued with the spirit of the divine. And man is made of adamah, of earth. But the categories are more complicated than just the question of matter and spirit. The spirit is also divided into parts. For now, we'll identify two: the ruach and the nefesh. The ruach is what man is in essence, a creature endowed with the ability and power to choose freely between right and wrong. The ruach can know what is right and what is wrong, and must choose between two things. On the one hand, it's understanding that ultimately we are put into this world in order to do what's right. And on the other hand, between the instincts which our body and the nefesh which animates it have, instincts which insist on their satisfaction without regard to their rightness or wrongness. But there's another point here as well. Instinct isn't necessarily to be identified with bad. We have good instincts too. And perhaps instead of calling them instincts, we should call them midos. For instance, laziness is a midah, but so is rizus. And everyone lies somewhere on the spectrum between 0 and 10. Stinginess is a midah, but so is generosity. Cowardice is a midah, but so is bravery. And again, everyone lies somewhere on the spectrum. When confronted with an issue where your midah has an instinctive response about what you should do, for instance, getting out of bed in the morning, the lazy person is instinctively pulled to stay in bed, and the zariz is being pulled to get up. So now let's imagine that you're lazy or stingy, Is it the Ruach's job to get you up at 5 o'clock in the morning when Bekoshi you make it to 8 o'clock minyan? Or to offer your friend your whole lunch when he forgot his? The answer is no. Because if you are a 2 on the spectrum, you don't have the tools, or perhaps we'll call it the spiritual muscles, to get that job done. L'moshel, for instance, if you have to record a song and all you have is an MP3, will you produce the same quality as the person with a fully equipped studio? If you have to produce a piece of furniture and all you have is a handsaw, will the quality be as good as if you had precision power tools? Recently, I read a great book entitled Joseph, about a great individual. Joseph Beta, who was a monumental Baal Chesed in the Sephardi community of New York. The blurb on the book jacket reads, "Warning, this book may change your life. Its incredible stories are likely to produce an uncontrollable urge to help others and a strong desire to do good things." And the blurb is absolutely correct. After reading a few chapters, that's exactly what happened to me. I thought to myself, it may be too late for me to become the next Rav Moshe Feinstein. But for Chesed, all you have to do is want. I should have heeded the warning. Trying to behave in a way which far outstripped my midos led to not such good results. But the book did give me one important insight, which I would like to share. I got a taste of what a Baal Tshuva feels when presented with the high ideals of behavior and mitzvah observance and Torah study without having the benefits of growing up with normal people and normal role models. When we grow up with serious Torah Jews who don't excel to the extreme, we internalize the message that not every madrega is for everybody. I was guilty of comparing my abilities with the great abilities of a very special person. One of the negatives, when you go the route of acting beyond your madrega, is that invariably you neglect to do good things you are used to doing with the kochos and midos you have available to you. Your avodas Hashem can become contorted and distorted. Rav Yecheskel Levenstein, the mashgiach of the Ponevezh Yeshiva, Zecher Tzadik V'Kodesh Levrocha, taught that the Mishnah's definition of Ezehu Asher Asameach Bechelko, who is the wealthy person, the one who is satisfied with his lot, applies to Ruchnias as well as Gashmias, the matters of our spiritual development and not only our material well-being. Yes, the supermom who is always patient with her kvetchy kids while keeping the house spotless and holding down a full-time job was given a superior tool set. The guy who has no problem sitting through a 3-hour learning seder was given a superior tool set. The first step to growth in Yiddishkeit is to make an honest appraisal of what your strengths and weaknesses are. As the great mashgichim have said, woe to one who doesn't know his weaknesses, but 100 times woe to one who doesn't know his strengths. Your ruach will make choices of right over wrong, but consistent with the muscles you have. Of course, this is only a first step, because you can't turn a handsaw into a power tool, and you can't turn an MP3 into a sound studio, but you can improve your midos. There's more to come.